Welcome to the next video titled Scanning UDP Ports. In the previous video, we scanned TCP ports. In this video, we will add UDP filtering on port 22 and then perform the scan. It is very easy to read the results of TCP scan due to its stateful nature. A SYN packet will always be answered with a fin if the port is closed, or SYN ACK if the port is opened. The lack of response means that either the request or its response was filtered. UDP is not so easy due to it being stateless. A UDP packet to a closed port will result in an ICMP destination port unreachable message. A filtered UDP packet will result in no response. The tricky part is that the behavior when something is listening to the port is application specific. Since there is no initial handshake, the application simply receives the data and then either responds or not depending on the application's requirements. If the application does not respond, it will look just like a filtered port. After this brief introduction, now we will see how to do it. Similar to SYN scans, UDP scans require root privileges. Simply use -SU in order to specify UDP for the scan type. Before we run the scans, let's add UDP filtering on port 22 in order to see how it looks in the results. Now let's perform the scan. Great. Now let's see how it works. The UDP scan shows all 4 potential scenarios in its result. The majority of the UDP ports on this system do not have application listings on them. You can see this in the line which says not shown, 97 closed ports. Results from an Nmap scan will automatically consolidate the answer, which occurs most often in order to cut down on the size of the output. UDP port 22 in the preceding results shows a state of open and filtered. This means that the UDP packet did not result in an ICMP port unreachable error, which means that the packet was either accepted or dropped by a firewall. In our case, it was filtered in our IP tables rule. UDP port 53 in the preceding results shows as open. This is due to Buoi 9 currently being installed running on that IP address. The UDP packet sent by Nmap results in the Buoi 9 server responding with no TIMP, or not implemented. This means that the request type in the packet was not recognized, which makes sense since it was not actually a DNS packet. Finally, port 68 also shows open and filtered, just like port 22. In this case, it is due to port 68 being used by our DHCP client. The client does not bother responding to the packet, since it is a valid DHCP packet. You can determine what it is listening with on a given UDP port using the lsof command. Superb! In this video, we scan UDP ports. In our next video, we will be identifying services.